Okay, this is a video for IM1, and I'm just going to quickly explain to you what a relation is, and then what specifically a relation that also is something that we call a function. So first we'll start with this example, which is going to be just a general relation. So this is a problem that we might look at a little bit more later in the year. And this happens to be we took a whole bunch of measurements of people's forearm length, that's the length from your elbow to your wrist, and then compared that relationship to the height. And the question was, is there a relationship between forearm length and height? And again, we'll do this more later in the class. The blue line represents the trend of that relationship. And so while there are outliers and it's not a perfect relationship, the general connection is that as forearm length increases, the height of a person increases. So the longer your arm is, the taller you are. That makes sense. But the question we really want to ask is this relationship a function? And so in order to be a function, I'm going to write a note here off to the left. So a function is a relation in which there is only one output for each input. So what that means depends on the context. So the context of this is, in order for this to be a function, for each input, so input in this case being our x value or our forearm length, there can only be one unique output. So for somebody who has, in this case, a forearm length of 19 inches, I think it was, they happen to be 150. Actually, this might have been centimeters. So the 19 centimeter forearm had 150 centimeter height. And there's only one person there's only one height for a 19-inch forearm. So that is what I mean by a one output for each input. And you go over to this next one. This looks like 19 and a half. And there's only one output there. So that is true for many, but there's some examples where it's not true. And here's the first of them. Here we have a 21 centimeter forearm length, and looks like about 158 or something. Yeah, that looks like this data point right here, 158 centimeter height. But also, there's another person with a 21 centimeter forearm, and they are 160 centimeters tall. And this right here has two outputs for a single input, for the same input. So there's an input of 21, and you get two different outputs out of that. And that means that this is not what we call a one-to-one function. And you can see that in a data table right here. You have an input of 21, and here you have an input of 21. If you have a repeated input, then you're not going to have a function. The way you see it on the graph is what we call a vertical test. So if you can go up and down along the same vertical line, and if you can cross more than one point, then it means there's more than one output for a single input. Here, the input of 22 has three outputs, another repeat here, another repeat here. So I chose this example because I knew there would be lots of times where the rule for the function is broken. So this is a relation, but it is not a function. Now here's another example, and on this one we have the year, so going from the year 0 to the year 2000, so almost present, close to 20 years ago, and then the world population. And so this, you can see that the population has grown exponentially. But what we have here is, because we've only listed a measurement of not even every year, but we've never repeated a year, right? We have a bunch of different years here, but 1980, 1990, 2000, we don't have two measurements for 1980. And if we did, it would only appear once. So this is a function because there is only one output for each input. And you could never draw a vertical line through more than one point, even though these ones look like they might be. Once you kind of zoom in, they actually aren't directly over each other because they have a different x value. So that's the difference between what is a function and what is not a function. They're all relations, but some we refer to as functions.